Right, so I'm going to basically outline what I'll be doing in the next series for OpenTTD. So I've not made videos for a while, obviously, and I think partly the reason for that is that the videos became kind of mainly about editing and not about playing. Like, I enjoy playing OpenTTD, and the editing stuff's kind of just things I sort of needed to do in order to upload the videos. So I'm going to try and keep them a bit sort of less maintenance for me, so I can just kind of play, record, post, opposed to kind of fiddling around and adding stuff, so they'll look a bit more informal, I guess. What I'm going to do is I'm going to start a new map and just kind of play, because I've been playing OpenTTD, like this is a map that I've basically created since the end of the first series, whatever. God, I've got to remember I'm supposed to be British. So within this map, there's kind of a few, I'd say, rules, kind of patterns, design, influences that I follow, and I'll kind of outline those to show you how I'll design railway lines and bus routes and things in the new series, so you kind of see where I'm going with things. So when I play, I have an objective to myself of basically trying to connect every town, village and city together in some degree of fashion, and in doing that it creates its own set of challenges within the game. So the game becomes less about the kind of menial task of just becoming a tycoon, which, as you can see, becomes pretty easy after a while. It becomes more about how you distribute passengers around the map. So if I look at a station, when I'm playing in my mode, every station, every passenger has a destination. Well, apparently apart from the 1,700 passengers in this station. So for instance, if I take this station, Southampton Ridge, I see that there are 911 juicy passengers going to Prenfingbrook, which is there. So part of the challenge of the game after the initial kind of network's been created is how you move people to certain locations. So for instance, that's over this body of water which doesn't have a rail connection, so you then connect well, if I wanted to move those passengers quicker, then I need some kind of better connection between the railway line and this sort of island that's out here. That's the kind of thing that I really do. So there's different types. So I will run within my maps. I will run obviously railways, I'll run buses, tramways, and occasionally ships. Ships kind of tend to be more if there's an area isolated. So for instance, this island is isolated from the rest of the world, so ships is all they get, because there's no point me spending tons of money when the passenger numbers aren't huge. So there's 650 passengers at that station. If we look at, say, this station, which is a bit of a hub for ships going to that island, let's have a look. So the top number of passengers, Treadhatton, which is further down the line, Kentbourne, which is also further down the line, Woodinghall South, that's a kind of east of where that is. So a lot of these places are inland, so there's not really any need for me to create connections there, as one example to how kind of I plan. So what I'm basically wanting to say is, and ignore the fact that this map is extremely laggy if I ever zoom out, is that when I create this new series, which I'll be doing very shortly, thankfully, I'm going to be just building how I build and sort of describing that process. And that's how it basically is. So I will start with a city will get a rail connection. I want to make bus routes that get to different areas within that city. So for instance, I take Flumfring Bridge here as an example. So you have the docks, which has a bus connection to the town, which has a bus connection to the station. So you have kind of main sort of areas within the town, but buses that go to different towns will stop at kind of suburban stops within the city. And what that does is it kind of feeds into the passenger rail network. So if I see here, Flumfring Bridge West, so they have the main number of passengers are to one town, which is a main express route, which means those passengers will go from the bus stop, should I say, to the rail station, and then we'll take an express train. So that's kind of the planning that I enjoy doing. Trams come into effect within larger kind of urban areas. So what will sometimes happen is there will be quite a few cities that operate, become sort of a big entity, and you kind of get that in real life as well within respects. So there's a city here called Dinningbury, and that's 46,000. Now, part of this is a pretty big hub within this map for a lot of the express trains, and that's because it's not just the fact that there's a 46,000 population city. It's a fact if you look at the cities around it, you have this one here, 7,700. This one's 4,800. There's a few here, 11,000, 10,000. That accumulates to, near enough 100,000 people to move, really. So this becomes a substantially more important section of the network. So these areas get trams because they're very efficient at getting large quantities of people to destinations that are very close. If you try that with rail, you tend to find that a lot of the lines become unprofitable. So part of what I do within these maps, and what I'll do in the new series, is I'll look. So for instance, there's an unprofitable line there, although that's kind of hit and miss. A lot of these are making money now, but there was a time where a lot of them weren't, and I had to go through and basically edit a lot of them and find out, well, hang on, actually, this line here, not many people are using it, or I may have to kind of instigate trains which lower operating costs. But yeah, sort of part of the planning of it is ensuring that the right method of transport is used, which kind of offsets cost with the demand, really. And it's those kind of things that I'd enjoy kind of discussing with you in a video and sort of showing you the planning behind. So that's really what I'm going to do. So we'll have rail networks. Within my rail networks, I tend to have express trains like this one. So if I dare to zoom out, if my computer allows me to have the audacity of zooming out, so that express train runs right the way down the west coast of the country. I'll then have, obviously, kind of stopper trains, which will stop at every station along a route, semi-stopping services or semi-fast services, which will stop at major, kind of, bigger towns in between major urban areas. And then I'll have kind of, is this one of them? I will have something I kind of call sort of cross-country trains. So yeah, this is one of them. So they sort of run in between bigger urban areas as kind of semi-stopping routes. So I'll tend to kind of localize how I plan the trains around the lines that I build. So for instance, Dinningbury here. So we have a line that goes west out of here. It kind of comes down the coast. It goes to a few big cities. There's a bit of a hub here for a line that goes east into the hills. This in itself is its own line, so it has its own stopping services that kind of use the line, and I'll tend to kind of categorize them together and be like, right, these are the, let's see, the Kingdinghead stopping services. So that's how I tend to group them. But obviously sometimes I'll have kind of longer running ones. A lot of the intricacies come kind of when the network is bigger, really, and I could probably explain in detail, but I'm getting way ahead of myself. Anyway, yes, I'll be creating new videos. That will be kind of the format as what I will be making. I do want feedback from you. I think that if I'm kind of trying to learn lessons from the first series in a way that I kind of felt after a while it became sort of a case of I was giving myself so many little rules and things that I would do that it kind of took away from building. I'm just going to build just as I would normally do. If you want to leave feedback, then I will definitely read it. I don't know if you want to work it as in, if everyone kind of tells me, oh, look, you should do this, and there's loads of good reasons that you should do this, oh, you should make a railway from Southampton Ridge to Farning Hall because, you could do X, Y, and Z. I'd listen to those kind of things and I'd, process them, and, I might be like, yeah, let's do that, so definitely comment. I do want to hear kind of what you have to say, because what I've learned from reading the Discord channel and the YouTube comments is that people have really interesting things to add and really interesting things to say, and it's definitely expanded how I play OpenTTD, so I definitely want to encourage more of it. But yeah, that's basically it. Just a bit of an intro, just a bit of a notice to show that I am alive for what has been genuinely an extremely busy 2 years for us. When I last made videos, I was in a position where I had quite a lot of free time, and that free time went, and it has now returned. So I'm in a happier place now that I have free time to spare to just sit down and build trains, as evidenced by this, because this was made in periods of about half an hour over the past kind of year or two. So that's basically it. If you do want to chat to us or anything like that, or provide any suggestions or anything as such, you're always welcome to chat. The Discord channel, which I should probably leave a link for, is a good place to chat, because there are some really nice people in there, so I would recommend doing so. But yeah, I'll leave the video as is. I'll get round to making the new season. No, we're going to use series because we are British. I will be making the new series shortly, and I enjoy listening to your feedback.